Makoto Itou began his day like usual, boarding the train to Kotonoha Academy. Just as the doors were closing, the girl he liked, Kotonoha Katsura, rushed on. She quietly sat and read a book, unaware that Makoto secretly took a photo of her with his phone. At school, there was a popular rumor about a love charm. If someone took a picture of their crush and kept it hidden on their phone, their love would come true, as long as no one found out. Makoto didn't truly believe in it, but decided to try it anyway. However, once he arrived in class, the charm was quickly broken. Sekai Saionji, the girl who sat next to him, noticed the photo right away. Feeling bad for ruining the charm, Sekai offered to help Makoto get closer to Kotonoha. She decided to befriend Kotonoha and act as a bridge between them. Kotonoha appreciated Sekai's kindness, especially since she struggled to fit in with her classmates and had few friends. The next day, Sekai invited Kotonoha to eat lunch with her and Makoto. After some effort, she managed to convince Makoto to join them. Though Kotonoha's lunch wasn't very tasty, the group still shared the meal. Then Sekai suddenly excused herself, claiming she needed the restroom. Makoto was left alone with Kotonoha, but nothing happened because he hesitated to speak up. The following morning, Makoto finally built up the courage to confess his feelings to Kotonoha. He told her how he felt just as they were about to board the train. Later during gym class, Kotonoha told Sekai about the confession and revealed that she had accepted it. She also admitted that she had liked Makoto for some time. After school, Sekai met Makoto at the train station. He mentioned that he didn't realize she took the same train, but Sekai explained that she traveled in the opposite direction. As they talked about how Sekai had helped him get together with Kotonoha, Makoto said he felt like he owed her a lot. Without warning, Sekai kissed him and said that was his repayment before heading off on her train. Makoto went on his first date with Kotonoha, but things didn't start well. He was caught reading a dating guidebook before the date even began. -5 points. During the date, Makoto breaks about every other dating sin that exists. Looking at ecchi magazines, playing video games alone, needing Kotonoha to help him out of a tense moment with a stranger, and then trying to kiss her even though she clearly wasn't ready. She avoided the kiss by letting the train doors close between them. The next day, after telling her how it went, Sekai thinks that Makoto is a blithering moron and tells him he should understand a girl's heart better. He said he thought he did, based on the fact that Sekai kissed him the day before. Sekai becomes all flattered and says it was just a friend's way of saying hi. Finally, Sekai hands Makoto a pair of movie tickets and tells him to smooch Kotonoha when the atmosphere is right. On their next date, Makoto and Kotonoha went to the movies. They had 3 choices: horror, romance, and sci-fi. Makoto picked romance, thinking it was the obvious choice. But Kotonoha had actually wanted to see a horror movie. This dude can't catch a break. Makoto pretty much oogles Kotonoha for most of the movie until he tries to lean over and kiss her again. This time, he is met with a solid slap on the face. Afterward, in a diner, Makoto tells Kotonoha what Sekai said earlier. Kotonoha asks if he and Sekai are close, and he says they just sit next to each other in class, but doesn't deny it either. The next day, Sekai told Makoto once again that he was moving too fast and needed to fix things with Kotonoha. Makoto tried to apologize, but Kotonoha ignored him. Sekai saw this and decided to talk to Kotonoha after school. She told her that she wasn't being fair to Makoto either. Later that evening, Kotonoha met Makoto at the train station. She apologized for not understanding his feelings and then kissed him. Later on, Makoto tried calling Kotonoha, but didn't realize he was speaking to her younger sister, Kokoro, until Kotonoha got out of the bath and picked up the phone. She gently kept Kokoro away, called Makoto back from her room, and apologized for the confusion. Makoto didn't seem to mind and asked if he could call her sister Kokoro-chan. Kotonoha agreed, but didn't seem entirely happy about it. The next day, Makoto, Sekai, and Kotonoha had lunch together on the rooftop. As Makoto stared at Kotonoha, remembering their first kiss, she surprised him by mentioning that Kokoro wanted to meet him. Makoto wondered if she was inviting him over. Sekai quickly stepped in, saying he was getting ahead of himself. When Makoto pushed back, Sekai warned Kotonoha not to spoil him. Makoto joked that Sekai was interrupting a good moment, so Sekai playfully strangled him, making Kotonoha laugh awkwardly. Later, Otome gave Kotonoha papers for the school festival committee since she was the class rep. She and her friends told her to take the job more seriously. As they walked away, Kotonoha overheard them chatting about Otome's crush. Later on, Makoto and Kotonoha rode the train home together. A girl named Hikari quietly watched them. Makoto noticed Kotonoha seemed off and asked if she was okay. Though she said she was fine, he kept asking, telling her not to hold back. They hugged, but as the train stopped, she ran off, leaving Makoto confused. Meanwhile, Hikari sent a text to someone. At the radish restaurant where Sekai worked, she got a text from Hikari saying her boyfriend, Makoto, was getting close to Kotonoha. Sekai replied that Makoto wasn't her boyfriend. Still, she called him and scolded him for hugging Kotonoha in public. Makoto insisted it was just a hug, but Sekai told him he should think about Kotonoha's feelings. He found it annoying, which led Sekai to demand he apologize again. The next day, Makoto waited for Kotonoha at the station, but was surprised when she didn't show up. It was revealed she took the bus to avoid him. At school, Sekai asked how it went. When Makoto said he didn't see Kotonoha, Sekai snapped at him again. She tried to meet with him privately, but the bell rang. Taisuke joked that they were acting like a married couple, while Setsuna looked on, unamused. At lunch, Makoto asked Sekai to eat on the rooftop, but she said he should handle things with Kotonoha himself. Setsuna invited Sekai to eat with her and Hikari instead, and she agreed. Up on the rooftop, Makoto waited until Kotonoha arrived. They talked about the hug from the day before, and Kotonoha said it didn't bother her, which made Makoto happy. He asked if he could visit her house and meet Kokoro. She agreed and invited him over on Sunday. Later, Setsuna met Sekai after her shift and walked home with her. When Sekai asked while she waited, Setsuna said she wanted to ask about the Koto. Sekai claimed there was nothing between them and that any strange moments were just misunderstandings. Setsuna seemed to accept that. The next day, Makoto rode the train to visit Kotonoha. He remembered Sekai had work, but hoped for a good day. At the Katsura house, Kokoro greeted Makoto with a hug and called him Big Brother, which made Kotonoha smile. They all spent time together and later sat for tea. Kokoro asked why Makoto called her sister Katsura instead of her first name. Things got quiet for a moment. On the way to the station, Kotonoha admitted she had felt bothered by that. Makoto finally called her by her first name, and she called him Makoto in return. They both smiled. At the station, Kotonoha asked him to close his eyes. When he did, she kissed him as the train arrived and then walked away, leaving Makoto stunned. Later, at home, Makoto told Sekai about the visit, but as they talked, he admitted that being with Kotonoha already felt tiring.
While Kotonoha was reading in her bedroom, her younger sister Kokoro interrupted her to ask for help with homework. But as Kokoro looked around, she noticed the books Kotonoha was reading and quickly lost interest when she realized she couldn't understand them. Kotonoha explained they were romance novels. Kokoro kept asking questions about Kotonoha's relationship with Makoto, teasing her by assuming they had kissed. Embarrassed and annoyed, Kotonoha told her it wasn't any of her business. At school, Makoto was still complaining to Sekai about the pressure of having a girlfriend. He tried to explain his feelings but struggled. As Sekai left with her friends, she thought back to the kiss she had shared with Makoto at the train station. Later, Makoto and Kotonoha were alone on the school rooftop, where they began making out. But when Makoto tried to touch her breast, Kotonoha pulled away. She said she wasn't mentally ready for that and left, saying she had errands to run, leaving Makoto stunned. That evening, Kotonoha talked about it with Sekai. Sekai offered to scold Makoto on her behalf, but Kotonoha began to feel bad. Sekai told her not to worry so much about Makoto's feelings and asked if she had plans with him soon. Kotonoha changed the topic and they chatted about the horse riding club. Meanwhile, Makoto was still thinking about the moment he touched Kotonoha earlier. During their talk, Sekai misunderstood the horse discussion as something sexual. As Kotonoha left to get a drink, she saw an event ticket nearby and asked her mom if she could invite Makoto to go with her. On the train, Kotonoha had tried to work up the courage to invite Makoto to the event, but the train suddenly jerked, causing him to accidentally touch her breast again. She apologized, but Makoto said it was his fault and remembered that she didn't like being touched that way. Unbeknownst to them, Hikari spotted the two and later rushed to tell Sekai about it. Their conversation turned awkward, and Hikari even suggested Sekai should break up with Makoto. Back at school, Sekai asked Kotonoha to join her for lunch, but Kotonoha declined. Makoto also said he would eat in the cafeteria. Sekai scolded him for doing things Kotonoha didn't like. When Makoto shouted in frustration, the class stared. He dragged Sekai into the hallway and confessed he wanted to do more with Kotonoha but felt stuck. Sekai told him Kotonoha didn't want to be rushed and suggested he try again, maybe at her house. But Makoto argued that his little sister would be there. Sekai then suggested he invite Kotonoha to his place, but he said he would need to hide his gravure magazines first. Eventually, Sekai told him to consider Kotonoha's feelings and then surprised him by offering to let him practice on her. Makoto was confused. Later, in class, he thought about Sekai's offer. He asked about using their old notebook to talk again, and she replied that it was now about understanding girls' emotions. After school, Sekai prepped him for their so-called practice. Makoto said he hadn't agreed yet, but before anything could happen, Taisuke interrupted. He had Makoto's love manual and asked about a missing page. Makoto claimed he left it at home, using the moment to avoid Sekai until she reminded him what really mattered, shocking both boys. When Taisuke left, Makoto reluctantly agreed to practice. They tried the park first, but kids kept interrupting. Then they went to a karaoke box, but security cameras made them uneasy. Finally, Sekai led them back to the school rooftop. At the same time, Kotonoha looked at the ticket she had wanted to give Makoto earlier and read his message apologizing for missing their meetup. Back on the rooftop, Sekai told Makoto to pretend she was Kotonoha. As part of the practice, she let him touch her breast. Just as he started to lie her down and unbutton her blouse, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Kotonoha. He stopped immediately. Sekai got up to leave, saying she had errands to run. Makoto asked if they could continue somewhere else, but she refused, telling him to do the real thing with Kotonoha. Later, Makoto met Kotonoha at a convenience store. They both apologized for the previous day, and Kotonoha invited him to the pool on Sunday. He accepted. That Sunday, Hikari, one of Sekai's friends, had a crush on Taisuke and wanted him to join them at the pool. She used the excuse that she couldn't swim to get his attention and dragged him along, hoping he'd help her learn. Once the group arrived, Kotonoha admitted she also couldn't swim, so Makoto offered to teach her. As the group spent time swimming and enjoying themselves, Kotonoha seemed happy and more comfortable around Makoto. Meanwhile, Sekai watched from a distance. When Kotonoha stepped away for a moment, Sekai approached Makoto and brought up the hug she had seen between him and Kotonoha. She joked that their special training must have worked. Makoto then said he wanted to keep practicing, but Sekai quickly shut him down. Later, during lunch, Kotonoha showed more confidence. When Taisuke mentioned that he thought Makoto was dating Sekai, Kotonoha clearly and proudly said she was Makoto's girlfriend. Though she appeared happy, the same couldn't be said for the others. Neither Makoto nor Sekai seemed as comfortable with the situation. After the swimming trip, Kotonoha was the first to come out of the dressing room. She asked Makoto if he'd like to come to her house the following weekend. Before he could answer, Sekai and the other girls came out and Makoto waved excitedly at Sekai. This upset her. She pulled him aside and scolded him for being too friendly with other girls. Makoto didn't understand why she was so upset, especially since they had done the special training. Sekai reminded him that he was dating Kotonoha and that the practice was never meant to be serious. She told him they were just friends. On the way home, Kotonoha and Makoto got off at the train station. She asked if he wanted to hang out, but he told her he needed to head home. After walking away and thinking for a bit, Makoto returned to the station and sent Sekai a message asking to meet. At first, it seemed like she might ignore him, but she eventually came out to meet him at the station near her house. When they met, Sekai asked why he wanted to see her. She reminded him that he was dating Kotonoha, but Makoto hugged Sekai and confessed that he liked her. She told him saying such things was unfair to Kotonoha and asked why he had gone after Kotonoha if he had feelings for someone else. Makoto apologized and the two shared a kiss. They then went back to Sekai's home, where they then did the do the deed. You know what I mean. As time went on, Makoto would ask Sekai to meet up almost every night. Sekai, meanwhile, was trying hard to believe that their relationship wasn't wrong. She kept telling herself it was just practice, but even she seemed to know that wasn't true anymore. While all this was happening, Kotonoha had no idea and was being left completely in the dark. Setsuna found out about Sekai and Makoto's relationship when Makoto casually mentioned making breakfast for two while talking to Sekai. Surprised, Setsuna later asked Sekai if Makoto had officially broken up with Kotonoha. Sekai said yes, but that wasn't true. Makoto had not broken up with Kotonoha, which seemed like something that would cause trouble later. In class, Sekai passed a note to Makoto saying they should be honest with Kotonoha before things got worse. But Makoto strongly disagreed. He said Kotonoha would get angry and didn't want to deal with it. After class, Sekai brought it up again, saying they needed to tell her. Makoto brushed it off again, saying it was too soon and that he would tell her eventually. Meanwhile, Kotonoha went shopping for yarn and knitting needles, planning to make something for Makoto. On the train ride home, she looked out the window just as the train passed a station and caught a glimpse of Sekai and Makoto about to kiss. She tried to convince herself she was seeing things, but the doubt had already started. Later, Sekai noticed that Kotonoha had texted Makoto asking him to walk her home. Makoto was about to say no, but Sekai reminded him that Kotonoha was still his girlfriend and he should go. On the way home, however, Makoto treated Kotonoha coldly. He ignored her excitement about getting a couple's phone plan and didn't even help her when she tripped and fell. The next day, in Kotonoha's class, some of Otome's friends were teasing her, trying to guess who she liked. Kotonoha tried to get them to focus on their plans for the school festival, but Otome and her group didn't react kindly. They snapped back at her and made her feel unwelcome. Eventually, they figured out that she had a crush on Makoto. When Kotonoha overheard, she calmly said that she was dating Makoto, causing Otome to become angry. Right before lunch, Kotonoha texted Makoto to let him know she would be busy. Makoto forwarded the message to Sekai, and the two decided to meet on the school rooftop to eat dessert together. But Kotonoha managed to finish her committee work early and went to the rooftop anyway, hoping to surprise Makoto. Just as she reached the rooftop door, she heard Sekai confessing her feelings to Makoto. Peeking through the small window in the door, she saw the two of them kissing, with Sekai's clothes half off.
The next day, Makoto and Sekai were hanging out on the rooftop, and Sekai wondered aloud why Kotonoha hadn't come to school for the past 3 days. Makoto told her it was probably because Kotonoha was busy with the festival committee. Sekai nervously asked if what they were doing was really okay. Makoto reassured her, saying he wanted to spend more time with her anyway. The two kissed, unaware that Kotonoha was watching from behind the rooftop door. At home, Kotonoha wondered why Sekai and Makoto had been kissing on the roof. She worried that Makoto had lost interest in her and blamed herself for not being more physically involved with him. The next day at school, Taisuke announced that one of the class festival reps had gotten injured. Since Makoto wasn't in any clubs,
the class decided to put him on the committee. Makoto tried to refuse, but Setsuna asked if he was uncomfortable working with Kotonoha. Then, in front of everyone, she said that he and Kotonoha had broken up. Makoto didn't deny it. Meanwhile, in Kotonoha's class, Otome and her friends were picking on her again. They forced her to search for more supplies for the haunted house, even though she explained everything had already been assigned. Behind her back, Otome's group talked about setting up a lounge and mentioned using a video camera for something suspicious. During the committee meeting, Kotonoha kept glancing and smiling at Makoto. Setsuna noticed and gave her a cold stare, assuming Kotonoha was trying to win him back. When Kotonoha tried to talk to Makoto afterward, Setsuna made up an excuse and dragged him away. Kotonoha then sent Makoto a text, but Setsuna grabbed his phone and added her to the block list. Makoto protested, but Setsuna claimed she was doing it for Sekai. The following day, Kotonoha texted Makoto again, but received an error message. She tried calling, only to hear that the number couldn't be reached. Back in class, Otome and her group continued bullying her, this time demanding she find sheets sturdy enough for people to lie on. Feeling helpless, Kotonoha gave in, which seemed to give Otome more control over her. After school, Kotonoha was searching for the sheets when she ran into Makoto. He offered to help, but Setsuna tried to stop him. Makoto pushed back, saying it wasn't right to ignore Kotonoha, and left to follow her. He soon spotted her talking to Taisuke in the equipment room. Through the doorway, he overheard Taisuke asking Kotonoha to go to the festival dance with him. Kotonoha became upset and shouted that she hadn't broken up with Makoto and ran out, only to bump right into Makoto. Before she could speak, one of Sekai's friends angrily confronted her, accusing her of leading on both Makoto and Taisuke. Kotonoha looked to Makoto for support, but he said nothing. Feeling humiliated, Kotonoha ran away. Later, Makoto finally decided to unblock Kotonoha's number. That night, while Sekai was visiting him, she brought up what Setsuna had told her, that he ran after Kotonoha. Makoto tried to explain, but the doorbell rang. When he opened the door, Kotonoha was standing there. She said her phone wasn't working, but Makoto admitted it had been his fault and that it was fixed now. Sekai, hiding behind a wall, heard everything and realized he had unblocked Kotonoha. Kotonoha hinted that she wanted to stay, but Makoto made up an excuse about feeling sick. Still, Kotonoha noticed Sekai's shoes by the door. Then she invited Makoto to the festival dance. He hesitated and said he would think about it, which upset Sekai even more, especially since he didn't reject Kotonoha directly. After Kotonoha left, Sekai stormed out, angry that Makoto was still acting like Kotonoha's boyfriend. Outside, she ran into Kotonoha. Without warning, Kotonoha walked up to her, said she had done something despicable, and slapped her hard.
Later on, Sekai sat alone at a playground at night, speaking to Setsuna. She said that things between her and Makoto had gone too far. Setsuna, surprised, said she thought Sekai was Makoto's girlfriend, but Sekai admitted that Makoto had never actually broken up with Kotonoha. Hearing this, Setsuna decided it was time to make Makoto choose between them. The next day, Sekai stayed home from school. As she sat in her room, she thought back to the night before. Kotonoha had slapped her, scolding her for getting involved with Makoto, even though she knew he had a girlfriend. Kotonoha reminded Sekai that she had helped bring the two of them together and begged her to stay away from him. At school, after a festival committee meeting, Kotonoha asked Makoto if he would ride the train home with her, but Setsuna stepped in, saying that they were too busy with preparations and he wouldn't have time. Makoto tried to push back, but Kotonoha eventually gave up. Later, in the classroom, Makoto told Setsuna she had been too harsh. She ignored the comment and asked if he was dating Sekai. Makoto replied that it wasn't her business, but Setsuna said it was because she was Sekai's friend. She then asked him directly who he really loved. Makoto struggled to answer. He said he had liked Kotonoha at first, but being with Sekai made him feel calm and comfortable. When Setsuna questioned if he meant it was simply easier to be with Sekai, he denied it.
He explained that he genuinely felt at peace around her. Satisfied, Setsuna told him to go see Sekai and promised to handle the festival work herself. Makoto visited Sekai at home and asked why she missed school. She said she wasn't feeling well. Then she admitted that after leaving his apartment the night before, she had run into Kotonoha, who now knew about their relationship. Sekai told him that things were getting out of hand and asked what they should do. She said they had been handling everything the wrong way. That night, Setsuna visited Sekai and asked if Makoto was going to end things with Kotonoha. Sekai told her he would. The next day, Kotonoha managed to catch Makoto on the train. She hinted that she was ready to be intimate with him and asked if he would dance with her at the festival. Tempted by the thought of finally being with her, Makoto agreed. After she left, he sighed and muttered to himself that he was the worst. Meanwhile, Setsuna was at her apartment speaking French over the phone asking for an apartment. When she hung up, she walked over to a pile of travel items, her passport and a French travel guide. It became clear she was moving to France. At the school festival, Class 3 had set up a cafe with flirty waitresses and pink mascots. Other classes competed with themed cafes. Class 1 had a little sister cafe, Class 2 did a zombie theme, and Class 4, which included Kotonoha and Ultime, created a haunted house. Ultime's group had also built a secret lounge, which was being used as a hidden hookup spot. The rivalry between the classes became wild. Waves of mascots, zombies, and waitresses swarmed each other, leading to chaos in Class 3's cafe. One of Sekai's friends asked if they could continue the cafe the next day, and Setsuna promised to fix everything overnight. Everyone agreed to help, but Setsuna and Makoto needed to go out for supplies. As they walked, Setsuna told Makoto that she was moving to France after the festival. Her mom was being transferred, and she was worried about Sekai. She explained that before they became friends, Sekai would always deal with problems by bottling things up. But after they became close, she started to open up. Setsuna said she hoped Makoto would be there for Sekai after she left. When he asked if she had told Sekai yet, Setsuna said she hadn't found the right moment. She then remembered how Makoto had helped her during their entrance ceremony when some boys teased her. She began to cry and Makoto tried to comfort her. She pushed him away gently, saying she didn't want to rely on anyone. Makoto told her he admired her strength and suggested she become class rep. By the time all the repairs were finished, the school was empty. Only Makoto and Setsuna were left in the classroom. Makoto had fallen asleep against the wall. Setsuna whispered to herself that she wanted to make a memory just for her and leaned down to kiss him. But during the kiss, Kotonoha walked into the room looking for Makoto and saw everything.
Kotonoha confronted Setsuna. She demanded to know if Setsuna had feelings for Makoto, and if that was why she had been keeping them apart. Setsuna replied that she had only been protecting Sekai, and that her kiss with Makoto was just a memory she wanted for herself. Kotonoha argued that it didn't concern her relationship with Makoto. But before she could finish, Nanami interrupted, and Kotonoha walked away. The next day, Setsuna spent time alone and went to watch a play. The story mirrored her situation. In the play, a character touched a forbidden flower that everyone desired. He claimed he only did it once to have a happy memory and didn't mean any harm. But other characters challenged him, asking whether not being questioned meant he could do as he pleased. They reminded him that, whether seen or not, the act still happened. The performance made Setsuna reflect on her own actions. At school, Makoto complained about helping in the kitchen, but he and Sekai soon started flirting. Meanwhile, Kotonoha sat in her classroom messaging Makoto and ignoring customers. Otome and her friends arrived, scolding her. They explained some of the school's traditions during the festival, including haunted houses, couples walking together, and dancing during the folk dance. Later, Taisuke found Kotonoha looking down at her classroom. He asked her again to the folk dance, but Kotonoha turned him down, saying she was already going with Makoto. In Class 3, Makoto was getting touchy with Sekai. She warned him someone might see, but he ignored her and kept going, saying it was fine if no one noticed.
Sekai, annoyed, kicked him in the groin and told him to go mess around somewhere else. So, Makoto went off to explore the festival. Outside, while eating a sausage, Makoto ran into Otome, who asked him to walk around the festival with her. Since they had been friends since middle school, Makoto agreed. Otome said they used to hang out often but drifted apart in high school. She asked him to dance with her later, but Makoto suggested she ask the boy she liked. Otome replied that's why she was asking him. Makoto didn't respond directly, but checked her out and noted how attractive she looked. Just then, Sekai showed up and scolded him for skipping work. As they returned to class, Hikari ran up and said Makoto's girlfriend was waiting for him. But when they arrived, it was only Kokoro and her friend. Kokoro excitedly mentioned how much Kotonoha was looking forward to the folk dance, which made Sekai visibly upset. Meanwhile, two of Otome's friends confronted Kotonoha again and asked if Makoto was really her boyfriend. Kotonoha insisted he was, even though they hadn't been seen together all day. She said he was just busy. Back in class, Sekai asked Makoto to dance with her, and he agreed. Elsewhere, Otome and Taisuke ran into each other. Both were feeling rejected. Taisuke mentioned his crush on Kotonoha and said he was giving up because she kept saying she was with Makoto. Otome scolded him and said if he didn't try, he'd never get what he wanted. Her own words seemed to motivate her, and she decided to pursue Makoto again. Later, while the class was busy, Makoto checked his phone and saw he had 20 voicemails from Kotonoha. Worried, he rushed out to find her, but was stopped by Otome, who dragged him to the lounge. There, she confessed her feelings and asked if he wanted to be more than friends. Makoto said he didn't mind, so Otome pushed him onto the bed and they had sex. Afterwards, Makoto realized the folk dance was about to begin. Otome suggested they keep everything a secret. Makoto left and danced with Sekai at the bonfire. Meanwhile, Kotonoha arrived at class 3 to find Makoto, but only Taisuke was there. He told her that Makoto had gone to the dance with Sekai. Kotonoha was shocked and asked why. Taisuke simply said Makoto had betrayed her and that he loved her. As the dance continued, Setsuna watched from a distance and recalled the line from the play. If no one ever asked, does that mean you can do whatever you want? On the dance floor, Sekai asked Makoto if she was his girlfriend, but Makoto didn't give a clear answer. Back in the classroom, Taisuke, still alone with Kotonoha, began undressing her as she stood frozen.
Taisuke had just taken advantage of Kotonoha without realizing the gravity of what he had done. He later told her that he loved her, unaware he had hurt her. Meanwhile, at the folk dance, Makoto noticed something was wrong, but continued dancing with Sekai. Watching from a distance, Kotonoha broke down in tears when Sekai suddenly kissed Makoto. The next morning, Kotonoha and Makoto ran into each other at the train station. Makoto apologized for what happened the previous day, and Kotonoha accepted it. At school, while Makoto, Sekai, and Hikari chatted about the festival, Taisuke happily visited Kotonoha in her classroom after taking out the trash. During their conversation, Makoto nearly let slip about his fling with Otome, but laughed it off with Sekai as they recalled the dance. Later, Minami, Kumi, and Natsumi mocked Kotonoha about what had happened. Kotonoha denied anything was wrong and insisted she was still dating Makoto. Minami tripped her and coldly told her to pick up the material she had dropped, despite being the ones who caused the fall. Taisuke then asked Kotonoha out for Christmas dinner, but she rejected him, saying she still loved Makoto. When he tried to convince her that Makoto was now with Sekai, she firmly turned him down and walked away. Heartbroken and confused, Taisuke confronted Makoto and asked what was going on. Makoto told him they had broken up,
leaving Taisuke in tears, wondering what he had done wrong. Outside the school, while taking out the trash, Makoto got a message from Otome asking to meet again for sex. Just then, Setsuna appeared wearing a mascot mask and asked if Makoto was still involved with Kotonoha. He told her they had broken up. Setsuna made him promise to stay with Sekai from now on, especially since she was leaving for Paris the next day. Kotonoha soon arrived, struggling with trash bags. Makoto helped her and she invited him to spend time with her on a yacht. While she tried to work around his schedule, Makoto coldly told her to stop seeing him. Kotonoha guessed Sekai was behind this and tried to expose the situation by accusing Setsuna of having feelings for Makoto as well. In response, Setsuna kissed Makoto in front of her, pushing Kotonoha away for good. Heartbroken, Kotonoha fell to her knees. Makoto told her that he didn't love her anymore and officially ended their relationship. Later, Nanami invited Sekai to a club party and tried to invite Setsuna too, but she declined. Meanwhile, Makoto and Otome had sex in the gym storeroom, something Setsuna had already discovered. That night, Setsuna visited Makoto's apartment and asked about the girl in the gym. Makoto dodged the question and instead kissed Setsuna. She offered herself to him, but only if he promised to break things off with Otome. The next morning at Nanami's party, their upperclassmen showed secret footage from the school festival. The first clip exposed Nanami and her boyfriend, leaving her devastated. The second clip showed Makoto with Otome. Sekai, now aware of everything, rushed to Makoto's apartment, only to be met by a delusional Kotonoha who claimed Makoto wasn't there. Sekai grew even more concerned when Otome also appeared. Meanwhile, Setsuna was at the airport choosing not to say goodbye to Makoto. As she waited to leave, she remembered her first day of the semester. At the time, she had been seated next to Makoto, but Sekai had asked to switch seats. She agreed, even though she had feelings for him. In the final moment, she whispered a quiet goodbye.
The next day, the class was unsettled by a clearly depressed Nanami. Eventually, everyone resumes their usual activities. Makoto noticed that Sekai's seat was empty. Meanwhile, Sekai lay in bed at home, upset after reading a goodbye message from Setsuna, who had left for Paris. That night, Hikari stayed over at Makoto's place. She urged him to visit Sekai, but he refused. Hikari reminded him that Sekai's continued absence from school could get her expelled. Still, Makoto didn't seem to care. While looking through his phone, Hikari noticed it was full of contact numbers from other girls. She called him out on how badly he had been acting, but the moment led to a kiss between them. That same night, Kotonoha, now emotionally broken, was seen holding something in her hands. The next morning, she was still in a trance-like state, staring at her phone. Sekai, reflecting on her heartbreak, remembered confronting Makoto about his cheating with Otome. She had told him that he was the only one she ever truly loved after Setsuna left. Hikari later visited Sekai to cheer her up, but wasn't successful. That afternoon, Kotonoha sent Makoto a message, even though he had blocked her. At school, Otome tried to contact Makoto, but he didn't respond. Kumi told her to forget it. And although Otome refused at first, she eventually walked away in disappointment. With Kotonoha no longer standing in the way, Natsumi jokingly suggested that they should all sleep with Makoto too. Later, Makoto and Hikari had sex again in an abandoned classroom. While getting dressed, Hikari once again encouraged him to visit Sekai, but Makoto's cold expression made it clear he wouldn't. Frustrated, she stormed off. That night, Kotonoha was seen alone on a swing, talking to herself as if Makoto were there. Meanwhile, Sekai reread old messages from both Makoto and Setsuna. The next morning, Minami visited Makoto's apartment where Kumi and Natsumi were already inside. He invited her in too, implying he slept with all three.
Elsewhere, Kotonoha sat in Central Park, still talking to Makoto on the phone. At the same time, Sekai found an old picture of her in the Koto, which made her physically sick. Then she realized she might be pregnant. Back at school, Sekai finally showed up and told Makoto that she was expecting his child. Shocked, Makoto began questioning her about the pregnancy. When he showed no sign of taking responsibility, Sekai shouted at him, causing the whole class to hear. She then collapsed and was taken to the infirmary. Word spread fast. Makoto had gotten Sekai pregnant. Fearing that they could be next, the other girls cut off contact with him, including Hikari. That evening, Otome visited Makoto. He greeted her happily and tried to invite her in, but she confronted him about Sekai. Makoto dismissed it, saying it wasn't his fault. Otome, realizing how far Makoto had fallen, walked away and quietly called him an idiot. Later, Sekai came to cook dinner for Makoto, but he didn't return home. She stayed and cooked alone while talking on the phone with Hikari, who told her she planned to avoid Makoto from now on. In the park, Makoto sat on a bench, trying to contact one of his many flings but got no responses. As he scrolled through his contacts, he paused at Kotonoha's name and stared at a photo of her. As he whispered her name, the real Kotonoha suddenly appeared. Makoto asked what she was doing there. Kotonoha, with snow on her shoulders, replied that she had been waiting for him. She began to speak strangely, saying that she wanted to be his perfect girlfriend. Makoto realized something was wrong. He tried to snap her out of it, but Kotonoha continued to repeat that she wanted to be the best girl for him. As she kept speaking, it became clear how deeply broken she was from his betrayal. Makoto begged her to stop, but she continued telling him that she loved him. Tearfully, Makoto asked how she could still love someone like him. Then, overwhelmed with guilt, he embraced her and apologized. When he whispered her name, her blank expression softened. Life seemed to return to her eyes as she quietly hugged him back.
Makoto and Kotonoha began to walk together. He noticed his hands were cold and tried to warm them up. Without warning, Kotonoha placed his hands on her chest, surprising him. Meanwhile, Sekai waited at Makoto's apartment for him to come home. She called him just as he was dining with Kotonoha at a fancy restaurant. She told him dinner was ready, but Makoto brushed her off, claiming he was busy. Sekai grew suspicious and asked if he was with another girl. Makoto denied it, but she saw through his lie. When Sekai brought up her pregnancy and asked him to take responsibility, Makoto turned cold. He mentioned Kotonoha, confirming Sekai's fears. When she tried to question him further, Makoto lost his temper, blaming her for telling everyone at school about the pregnancy. He told her to stop acting like his girlfriend and hung up. Heartbroken, Sekai shoved the dinner she made off the table. On her way home, Sekai saw a train passing with Makoto and Kotonoha inside. She rushed back to Makoto's apartment. There, Makoto was preparing tea for Kotonoha when he noticed the mess Sekai left behind. He reflected briefly on how his selfish choices led to the current situation. Just then, the doorbell rang, followed by the sound of Sekai slapping Kotonoha. Sekai had burst in and demanded Kotonoha leave. Sekai accused Kotonoha of following Makoto, but he defended her. Sekai, angry and hurt, said Kotonoha had seduced him. Kotonoha calmly responded, saying Sekai was the one who seduced Makoto. Sekai said her feelings were mutual with him, but Kotonoha brought up Setsuna, saying she also loved Makoto. She said she would forgive Sekai, and then, in a shocking moment, began kissing Makoto right in front of her, ignoring her screams to stop. Sekai ran away, devastated. At home, Sekai recalled a past when she tried to get Setsuna and Makoto together. Suddenly, she imagined a red-masked figure confronting her and accusing her of being selfish. The figure said Sekai used Kotonoha as an excuse to get close to Makoto, even though she knew Setsuna's feelings. The masked figure removed her mask. It was Setsuna. Sekai broke down, claiming Makoto loved her.
Later, Sekai lay in bed and received a message from Makoto. At first, she was happy, until she read it. He told her to get an abortion. The next day, he was relieved that Sekai hadn't come to school. Then he got a message from her asking to meet at his apartment after class. At lunch, he apologized to Kotonoha and told her she was the only girl for him. That evening, Sekai visited Makoto's apartment. He asked if she had seen a doctor, but she didn't answer. She offered to make tea, then noticed the food she had made the night before still sitting in the trash. That was the last straw, and while Makoto checked his phone, Sekai picked up a kitchen knife. Makoto received a text from Sekai that started with an apology. He kept scrolling through the message until he reached the final word, goodbye. Suddenly, Sekai stabbed him. As he collapsed, he called her name one last time before dying. Realizing what she had done, Sekai fled. Later, Kotonoha entered the apartment and found Makoto's lifeless body. Sekai then got a message from Makoto asking her to meet on the school rooftop. When she arrived, she found Kotonoha, who had used his phone to lure her there. Kotonoha asked Sekai if she had gone to the hospital. Sekai admitted she hadn't, so Kotonoha told her she couldn't have Makoto's baby because she was his true girlfriend. Sekai broke down, saying she had endured everything just to be with Makoto, only for it to end like this. Kotonoha told her to ask Makoto herself and pointed to her duffel bag. Sekai opened it and vomited when she saw Makoto's severed head. Kotonoha pulled out a handsaw and attacked. Sekai pulled out the knife she had used earlier, but Kotonoha disarmed her and slashed her throat. Then she cut Sekai's stomach open, claiming Sekai had lied about being pregnant. Later, Kotonoha was seen on a boat, lovingly cradling Makoto's head. She whispered that they were finally alone together.